That's This Week in Sports History. I'm JP.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Nick Saban has a message for us regarding the coronavirus.
First of all, I hope this message finds you and your family safe and well. On behalf of our program, we want to give thanks to all the medical professionals and caregivers in our state and across the country in these challenging times. Our daily routines have changed dramatically over these past weeks. As we have said to our team, we share the same message to all of you. Please understand the following guidelines of social distancing. We ask that everyone please wash your hands often. Stay at home if at all possible. And when you have to be out in public, make sure you keep 6 feet between you and the nearest person. We are in this together, and as one team, we will get through these difficult times. And together, we look forward to all that's to come, like the opportunity to play college football this fall. But the best and safest way to ensure that happens is to listen to the experts, follow their guidelines, and take care of each other. Stay safe and roll Tide.
Pensacola's own NFL Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith has some tips for us during this time.
This fight is up to all of us to try to help bend that curve. It's going to take teamwork. It's going to take us to stay committed, stay focused, and stay dedicated to the mission at hand, and that is to keep everyone safe. So be encouraging. Find some support. Find someone to talk to every day to encourage them to keep on continuing in this fight. And we will beat this pandemic.
We are strong, we are resilient, and we will get through this together. But these are stressful times, and it's important to also practice good self-care. It's normal to feel overwhelmed, anxious, or afraid, but there is hope. Reach out to someone, connect with your friends, stay in touch with your community, and know that you are not alone. Learn more at wearebroadcasters.com/hope, furnished by the National Association of Broadcasters and this station.
Pensacola's own NFL Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith has some tips for us during this time.
This fight is up to all of us to try to help bend that curve. It's going to take teamwork. It's going to take us to stay committed, stay focused, and stay dedicated to the mission at hand, and that is to keep everyone safe. So be encouraging. Find some support. Find someone to talk to every day to encourage them to keep on continuing in this fight. And we will beat this pandemic.
This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gulick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, sports call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
The following has been produced by Talk Football LLC. Former Florida Gators quarterback, NFL quarterback, and NFL head coach. Coach K. Stevenson has a resume second to none, and now he's sharing his insider information with you. Talk Football with Coach K starts right now on ESPN Pensacola.
Welcome into Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach K. Stevenson on this Friday afternoon. We hope everybody's doing well. Listen, look, weekend's right around the corner. We know the beaches are opening back up. DeSantis is talking now about possibly gyms and other things opening back up as well. Continue practicing social distancing during this time. Just because it's opening up, don't go back to the old ways of doing things right now. We're starting to get back to normal, but nonetheless continue to do what got us to that point. Wash your hands. Just be smart and use common sense when it's all said and done. And look, as we always start the show, we will continue to do this as well. I want to thank our first responders and healthcare workers. Look, it goes without saying, in a time like right now, the appreciation that we have for them. It's amazing the way that they've stepped up. But the thing is, in this time, we have to realize they have been doing this. This is something that they do each and every day. It's a part of their job. And for people like, well, that's their job. Look, what they do is something so special, something so selfless. It's amazing just to see the response and and the great attitudes that they have as well. Like I've said before, I have plenty of friends that are first responders, from firefighters to EMT, nurses as well. It's great to see these people, just the attitude that they have going about it right now, and seeing the support they're getting from our community as well. I love it. Look, we can't thank them enough. We also want to thank as well, we're talking about, people that are essential here, grocery store employees, truck drivers, all the essential workers out there. We thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you're doing. Putting yourself out there on that front line is fantastic. We can't thank you enough for making our lives as normal as possible in a time right now where normal is not a word that we use. Not at all. So, look, we are so grateful for them, but you know what? We're here to talk some football with you. Hopefully can make your day a little bit better no matter what's going on. First things first, Coach, how are you doing today, my friend?
Doing well, JP, and second your thoughts about our first responders out there and those that are doing what they're doing to keep us all safe.
Coach, we have so much to talk about today. Special guest, national championship winning UWF football coach Pete Shinnick will come on after the first break here at 12:15. And not only that, that's fantastic news as it is, but next week, I know we got a couple special guests coming on. Paul Feinbaum. Look, the Feinbaum Show comes on every day here. Feinbaum will join us, as well as Tuesday we'll have Tony Barnhart. Now, Tony Barnhart, of course, a reporter for worked for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Currently appears as college football insider for CBS Sports. He's hosted the Feinbaum Show many times. You've seen him on ESPN. You've seen him on SportsCenter. So insightful. It's going to be amazing to hear from him, Coach.
Yeah, it should be. It should be a great week next week, and we'll get an awful lot of inside information too. Keep in mind that both Tony and Paul are accumulating more and more information as time goes by, so we should be able to have a very, very interesting conversation with both next week.
Absolutely. And, Coach, starting off today, like I said, we have so much to get to in so little time. It's unfortunate that we have to say it's becoming a part of reality now for a lot of people. But Pepper Rogers, now, for those who don't know Pepper Rogers, a very colorful personality. He helped Georgia Tech to an unbeaten season as a player in 1952, went on to coach the Yellow Jackets, as well as Kansas and UCLA, Memphis, teams in the USFL and the CFL. He passed away last night. He was 88 years old. Look, Coach, this is a guy that's well respected. Of course, his final job is the Washington Redskins Vice President of Football Operations. No cause of death was given, not that it matters. They know that he recently suffered a fall. But what a great man. Of course, a lot of people can't believe it. But just like we talked about, the colorful personality that he had, Coach, how well did you know Pepper Rogers? And, just how unfortunate is this?
Well, you always hate to see anybody pass away like that, but Pepper led a good little life. He was a very colorful guy. Pepper was an assistant coach in Florida when I went there to the University of Florida. He was a quarterback coach, offensive coordinator maybe was his title. But anyway, he was a very colorful guy, to say the least. So it was a shame. We certainly condolences go out to his family and those people that were close to him.
Absolutely. And, Coach, moving on here, talking about some more NFL news, it's something that, of course, came out yesterday, and it blew up like a wildfire. I mean, I hate to say it with everything going on now, but that's just the impact this had when we're talking about everything going on in the NFL. Look, James Harrison came out and was on a podcast talking about he was handed, after a hit on Muhammad Massaquoi, the Cleveland Browns receiver, a couple years ago in 2010, of course. He was handed a envelope from Coach Mike Tomlin. And people, of course, this is a couple things on this. We know how people would speculate this. It's hard for me not to speculate. We talk about Bountygate and the issues that happened before all. We'll never forget things like that. But James Harrison came out this morning and clarified that Mike Tomlin never paid him for the hit, the helmet-to-helmet hit on the Cleveland Browns receiver. There was no Bountygate system in place. And this is interesting here because he's basically like, I can't believe people are saying this, but at the same time, Coach, what did James Harrison expect? Now, I'm not taking any sides here on this. I get both sides of this, but to come out and to say, why even say that a coach handed you an envelope after a big hit like that? Now, he was fined $75,000. The league dropped it to $50,000, but regardless, I mean, Coach, I can't imagine what was going through his mind and what he expected whenever he made these comments to come out today and be like, well, I can't believe you guys, you thought I meant it like that.
Well, you are taking a side there, Jeff, for sure, JP. You are taking a side, but I agree, and let me just be very blunt, very honest. Dumb, 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 and dumber. Dumb thing to say. Why would you open your mouth and say something like that? And it certainly inferred that he was given a payment for that knockout punch. That's basically what he was inferring, whether he said there's $1 million inside or $5 inside or what. He was inferring that he got paid by Mike Tomlin for that hit. Now, you say what you want to, and you can't couch that, you can't butter that up. So it was just a dumb thing to say. I can't see Mike Tomlin doing that. I think, if he handed him an envelope, it was certainly something that was innocent, I would think. But at any rate, it was just a terrible thing for him to say, and he should have thought a little bit before he said it, because he knew where that was going to go, especially in today's press, Watergate investigated press, that he knew where that was going to go.
Yeah, I agree. And, Coach, I did take sides. I was trying to play it. But you know what? It's something that I agree. I just can't imagine why even saying it. And I like Mike Tomlin. I think he is a heck of a coach with all the drama that he has to deal with as well, and continues to put that team, in contention each and every year. But regardless, I don't know. I want to think different of Mike Tomlin. I am, just because James Harrison has been one to speak out before. And so this is not necessarily a big surprise to me that he mentioned something like this. But regardless, Coach, I want to bring up some NCAA news here as we roll along. Of course, University of California coach Justin Wilcox has talked about his staff has looked at possibly, conducting preseason training and moving outside the Bay Area if college football season starts on time and restrictions are in place that won't allow the Golden Bears to hold camp on campus. Now, they talk about as well, we've heard the NFL coach talk about moving teams. Arizona's opened up, Florida's now opened up, and we see Ben Hill Griffin Stadium. It said, listen, our arms are wide open. If we want to host an NFL team, you guys are more than welcome here because we don't host games on Sundays. So, interestingly enough, though, Coach, we talked about this a little bit yesterday, that NFL, it's almost a no-brainer. For college, this is really tough, but seeing Coach Justin Wilcox come out and say, look, we're looking into going somewhere else outside the Bay Area and possibly out of the state so we can host fall camp. This may be becoming more of a reality, Coach.
Well, it's odd to say the least. I think it's much easier for NFL, but there's no question it is for NFL teams to do. I just can't see it's a little different twist on moving an entire college football operation out of state. He said for a training camp. He better be sure that they're going to be able to play a season. Why would you have a training camp if you don't have a season? So surely he's not talking about moving their entire operation for a season outside of the state of California. I just can't see that being realistic. But it just goes to show that everybody's trying to find some way to make this happen and play football this fall. It's going to happen with the NFL, and it's going to happen, I think, with major college football. And the more we get into this, the more you're going to understand, I think we all understand, that this is just prompting something that was inevitable anyway, and that is the Power 5 conferences breaking away from the NCAA. And you're going to have a note on that here coming up shortly. So anyway, I can't see that particular scenario taking place in California, but maybe they can, maybe if their season's going to open, they can go out of state and have some training available to them.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is, you know what, as we move along, things are changing. We're going to see, well, things that we've never seen before. One thing that we've noticed from all these commissioners, and they ask them, and look, they ask them, you know, how is football going to look like? And they're like, well, it's different. Regardless of whatever happens, things are going to be different. There's going to be different implementations in place. So, Coach, I can't imagine what's going to happen, but to see college football teams leave, I know there's so much. It's so much tougher, just to say the very least. But before we go to break, Coach, I do want to mention something because I know Coach Pete Shinnick is going to join us in a few minutes here. I wanted to mention something to our fans as well. Look, our UWF football Argos, national champions. This continues to happen, and this is what we knew was going to happen. They signed another Division I receiver. Now, this guy is the real deal. This guy also played minor league baseball in the Red Sox organization in 2017. So pretty much an athlete is, well, the best way I know how to describe him. This is a guy who in 2018 was an FCS third-team All-American as a freshman. It's interesting here, just his talent that he has. But David Durden, the Mercer wide receiver right here. Now, Mercer is no slouch when it comes to FCS football, but the 6'2", 195-pound receiver led Mercer last year with 45 catches for over 600 yards and 4 touchdowns. Like I said, this guy was he was in the 2017 MLB first-year player draft, played 30 games in the minor leagues, decided to hang it up and wanted to go play college football. And this is interesting enough because we've seen Key Wetzel, the former Oregon State linebacker, join as well. There's been so many transfers and probably more before it's all said and done. Everybody wants to come join the national champion Argos, but it's important to remember David Durden here just because, look, Tate Latio, Quentin Randolph, Kevin Grant, those guys are gone. Those are the 3 top receivers. Now, you are returning Rodney Coates and Karan Ashley, 2 top-notch guys to that receiving corps, but adding a guy like David Durden, a seasoned veteran at this point, Coach, is really exciting for our Argos.
Oh, and listen, there's no question about it. And we need to certainly discuss that with Coach Shinnick when we get him on. But that's a major development for West Florida. This kid is obviously a great athlete, baseball and football, and so I'm happy for him. It's a big pickup.
Absolutely, Coach. Well, on that note, we're going to go to break. When we come back, national champion coach of our UWF Argos, Pete Shinnick, will join the show right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Sometimes your bank, your family, and your friends love you, but they don't have the money to help you. Sometimes we have chances to make money, but the old saying, you've got to have money to make money, rings true. At Pensacola Specialty Pond, we can help. If you have trucks, heavy equipment, airplanes, boats, jet skis, anything with value, Pensacola Specialty Pond can loan you that short-term money you need. No credit checks, and at Pensacola Specialty Pond, you're going to find the money and the discretion you need.
Now at 6428 Pensacola Boulevard, north of Car City. Call 432-9050, 432-9050.
Bowling is a sport that will last you a lifetime, and at Cordova Lanes on Airport Boulevard, every night there is something exciting happening. Like on Tuesday and Thursday, it's penny a pin. Bowl 100, pay $1. Or how about starting your weekend off right by reserving a lane for just $25 at Moonlight Bowling. Enjoy a fresh-made pizza and the lowest pitcher prices in Pensacola. So what are you waiting for? It's time to roll your way into Cordova Lanes and experience fun like never before.
JP here. At ESPN Pensacola, we are hometown proud. We love our hometown heroes like Super Bowl champion Seattle Seahawk Doug Baldwin.
They fake, the lob, wide open, touchdown, Doug Baldwin.
Bigger body than Wilson likes to throw to, big target. Here's Baldwin, smaller target, and he ducks in for the touchdown.
Hi, this is Doug Baldwin, and you're listening to ESPN Pensacola.
There's only one name in town when it comes to afternoon local sports talk. The Sports Drive with Chad Brilliante.
Some athletes don't want to be given. Nobody does. Now, look, when you play with your pops as he gets older, one of the most embarrassing things, my daughter's 3, I just slam it right in her face right at the play school hoop. Like right there, like I'm Zion Williamson.
The games, the players, the fans. ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
You can watch Coach K talk football live right now on our YouTube channel at ESPN Pensacola 1330.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson on this Friday afternoon. Hope everybody's doing well. Remember, beaches are open back up, but use caution. Look, we're waiting for Governor DeSantis to give us some more information on whether gyms are opening back up. And you know what? Just continue to use caution in all this and do what got us to this point. It's important that we do not backtrack, but you know what? Our community has done a fantastic job in that so far. And speaking of doing a fantastic job, you know what? This guy doing a fantastic job is, well, an understatement. It's our, national championship winning coach of our UWF football Argos right here. Pete Jennings joins the show. Coach, I know that a special friend of yours as well. We've got so much to get to, but I'll go ahead and let you take over.
Well, we're just very, very happy that Coach Jennings took the time to be with us. There's so much we need to chat with him about. We'll try not to monopolize too much of his time. But, yes, national championship winning coach and just an excellent person to boot. We couldn't have a better guy here. We just make sure that we keep him here. That's the main thing. Coach, thank you for being on with us.
Well, thank you guys for having me. Honored to spend a little time with you and appreciate the opportunity to talk a little football.
Yeah, well, let me start with what a big addition to UWF football with David Durden, outstanding athlete, receiver, transferring in from Mercer College. An example of his athletic ability is he was good enough to sign baseball, pro baseball, and then came back and played football. Had an excellent year and great size, good hands, I understand. And I know you're happy to have him, and he should add to that talent level that you have put together out there.
Yeah, we're very pleased to get David to be a part of this group. You know, kind of interesting story that the head coach from Lenore Ryan got the Mercer job. They run a little bit of that wing T type offense, and David looked at that and said, I want to go someplace where they throw the ball. And I think, obviously, with Austin Reed coming back, we were a very appealing place for him. He's got 2 years of eligibility. Coach, as you mentioned, he signed a pro baseball contract right out of high school, did that, and then decided to come back and play football. Great young man, great competitor, added to an already, I think, very, very good receiving core. We're excited to have David be a part of our group.
Well, I know you are, and I'm happy for you. I think he's gonna mean a lot to you. Listen, I want to get into some other topics here, Coach, and most most assuredly we're going to have to talk about where you stand, where Division II football stands on this coming football season. Now, let me preface by saying I know that the NFL, for example, they've been going through any number of possible scenarios and options that they may have, and they've done a very good job of putting those possibilities together and how they would handle it, and they certainly are more equipped to move on. There will be NFL football this fall. There may not be any people in the stands, but that's okay. When you tune in on television, they'll have noise typed in. They will show the stands, and you won't know any difference really with or that much difference with NFL football. It's going to be a little more difficult for colleges because of all of the insinuations that you have to have students on campus and in classes before you can play football. I know Everett had made that statement that he had to back off it. Now I think he's come back out with some other statement. It looks to me like this is just opening the door for the Power Five conferences to drop out of the NCAA. But at any rate, I'm going to ask you what, I know you've been in conference with some of your peers at the Division II level, and what you see happening or coming up with different options that may be available to you to play football this fall.
Yeah, I would say, Coach, I mean, you've really kind of summarized it extremely well. I would say all options are really on the table, and I think every possibility is being discussed, and I think we're in a state that wants to see our institutions back on campus in classrooms, and that's what our governor has said. I think the majority of the states that our teams from our conference are in, want that same thing. And I think there's going to be a roadmap that lays it out for us. And I think people are being patient, not jumping to conclusions as to what it would look like. And, there was a California Division II conference, that has already canceled the fall sports. The league doesn't have any teams that play football, so they had already canceled, soccer and volleyball. And I just think that's, my opinion, that's way too early to make those decisions. And the conversations that I've heard around Division II and with other head coaches and with our conference coaches is, we're going to do everything we can to have a season. I think, the question that you proposed, what's that going to look like? Is that this number of fans? Is it this number of people, that can attend? What does all that look like? I don't know that answer, but I think everything that I have seen is pointing towards, we're going to have a season. And as abruptly as baseball ended, as abruptly as basketball ended, we could be looking the same way for fall sports, but we are trending and moving, I believe, in a very good direction that it's looking more and more like we will have a season. Again, what that season looks like, a lot of debate, and still I think a lot of time before we can figure that out.
Well, let me propose a possible scenario that the classrooms are not open to students attending classroom instruction, but they do go forward with a virtual classrooms, meaning that they are conducting business as usual, just doing it virtually. Do you see that as being an impediment to playing football, or do you see that as being just par for the course, given the condition that we're in as a country, and playing football anyway?
Yeah, I think the thing that becomes intriguing with is your university going to close their campus for the fall like we did this spring? Okay, so that meant the resident halls were closed, the cafeteria was closed. You do run into, I think, just a way, where do all your freshmen live? Is there meals available? I mean, you do run into some issues that would have to be worked out, would obviously have to take place. Now we've got a number of our older players who are living off campus that live in the apartment complexes in Pensacola. So, they are already set up for that. I think it's a little bit of a philosophical debate as to if, no one's on campus or classes, we can have people on campus, or we're having online teaching, where do sports fit into that? I think it's very doable, Coach. If we were all online, I mean, I was planning on continuing to have spring ball. The first decision that came out was all courses will be online for the last half of the semester when we come back from spring break. We were like, okay, well, we'll continue to have spring ball then. But then the campus closed down. So I think there's variable, actions that probably need to take place for us to be able to say, all right, what is, where are our students housed? How are we feeding them? There's just questions that are going to need to be answered that at this point in time, I don't know that I can come up with that solution.
Right. Well, I understand that, but at least I'm sure that you've thought it through as to what might have to be done to instigate the key, putting the key in the lock there to get it open. Let me ask you this: how does the Florida Tech decision affect your schedule and your season from a scheduling standpoint?
Yeah, it's a tough blow anytime you lose a game in May, and it was our last game and it was our last home game. So that's just a tough blow that's very difficult to fix this late in the process. We are looking at some things and, trying to see if there's any viable options out there and, do we have an opportunity to replace it? And so from the scheduling standpoint, it's hard. And then I think just overall, I mean, it's just not good for football when a team gets taken away. They're a team. I mean, it really was not a decision that was made based on, anything that had to do with football, because this is a program that, started, a few years ago, has been to the playoffs a couple times. They got an overall winning record. They have done everything that they can do from a football standpoint to be in a great position. The university just decided, they didn't want to go forward with it. So tough blow all around. Definitely affects our 2020 season.
Yeah, well, that is unfortunate. Do you see still playing the home games down at Blue Wahoo Stadium?
Coach, right now that is the plan. I mean, with everything playing out, I mean, again, we're pushing forward as if, we are on track to do that. As we've talked numerous times, we love that atmosphere. We love that venue. And, I mean, assuming that, we get the green light and everything's a go as normal, that's the plan as of today. And I mean, there's been a lot of discussion, I think, with minor league baseball. Will that be going on? What'll take place? So I know there's a lot of questions that still need to be answered, which, I think each week we go along, and you've seen this, and you've talked about it on your show as we keep going here. Obviously, each week's ramping up. We're getting a little closer to something. What we're getting closer to, we're soon to find out.
Yeah, well, there's no doubt about that. they have canceled the minor league season, so there won't be any minor league baseball, which should open the door to whatever schedule you might have, how you want to use the stadium, I would think.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know that was 100% official. I knew that had been thrown around there, so I didn't see the latest that has been done. So, yeah, then that obviously frees us up, and again, we're waiting to see what exactly all that's going to look like for us.
Yeah, we should get some interesting input next week into the any further developments of the college season. We're going to have Tony Barnhart on Tuesday. Extremely knowledgeable guy who's on the end with most all the people, decision makers in college football. And Paul Feinbaum's going to be on next week as well. So we should get a lot of interesting information on college football through those two for sure.
Definitely those two guys will have a great perspective and tremendous insight.
Right. Well, listen, I can't thank you enough. I really appreciate your time. And you know that we're all pulling for you in every way. And I just hope we get all this together. We've got to have football. We need football at every level from high school on. So I hope it all works out, Coach, and I'm sure it will. There's got to be a way. I don't think there's any question in my mind. There's got to be a way to make it happen. So good luck, and thanks again for coming on with us.
I appreciate it, Coach. Thank you.
Coach Pete Shinnick right there. We appreciate him joining us on the show. Of course, national champion coach Pete Shinnick. I think it's great to hear from him. Always a calming voice, especially, it's amazing just because of what he's been able to do so far with that squad at UWF, and some interesting insight nonetheless. A little bit of insider news there talking about, we talk about college football in Division I. How are things looking over in Division II? So, look, they're planning just like everybody else is of, having fans, playing games, moving forward. But a tough blow with Florida Tech, of course, dropping from their schedule. So going to be interesting to see how that's going to pan out for them moving forward for this season. And you know what? We're up against a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit. Look, college football's over-unders from Caesar Sportsbook were released. We'll talk more about some of the local teams around here and whether, some of the over-unders are a little far-fetched or not. We'll talk more about that when we come back right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
Hello, sports fans. Miles Bentley here, General Manager at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Pensacola. Growing up, I always loved sports. Nothing but net, out of the park, through the uprights. Sink the puck Bentley, that was me. But my love of the game couldn't beat my love for Pensacola and helping folks get on the road of dreams in a new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Sure, I never went to the big leagues in sport, but we're all pro here at Hill Kelly Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram. Proud to be in Pensacola.
Pensacola's own NFL Hall of Famer Emmitt Smith has some tips for us during this time.
This fight is up to all of us to try to help bend that curve. It's going to take teamwork. It's going to take us to stay committed, stay focused, and stay dedicated to the mission at hand, and that is to keep everyone safe. So be encouraging. Find some support. Find someone to talk to every day to encourage them to keep on continuing in this fight. And we will beat this pandemic.
For your ESPN Pensacola Ridiculous Facts, I'm JP. 2 days out of 365 days a year feature no professional sports games, the day before and the day after the MLB All-Star break. Remember when a day without sports seemed like forever? And because they both lost so many players to World War II military service, the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Philadelphia Eagles combined to become the Steagles during the 1943 season. That has got to be the most American thing I've ever heard in my life. Rest in peace, Steagles. And for your ESPN Pensacola Ridiculous Facts, I'm JP.
Parents, good news! Help is here for your child's educational success. Sylvan Learning Center in Pensacola and Shalimar is excited to announce they are open and have amped up their standards to keep students and families safe and healthy. At a time like now, we know a lot of families have been struggling. Sylvan can help. Call Sylvan Learning Center today and let them help you make sure your kids don't fall behind. Call Sylvan Learning Center today at 1-800-EDUCATE to make sure they are ready to start the next school year strong.
This is Davis Allen from Sports Call with Davis and Justin, and you're listening to Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola, 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. On this Friday afternoon, hope everybody's doing well. We're talking some football with you. We appreciate Coach Shinnick coming on the show. Look, always fun to talk to him. Always great to hear his voice, especially in a time right now with so much uncertainty. Great to hear positivity as well. But listen, Coach, we're talking about some college football here. Coming over back to Division I side of things, the Caesar Sportsbook released the over-under win totals for, well, the 2020 season. Now, starting at the top here, Coach, just want to talk about it and get some insight from you as well and your opinion on this. Alabama. Now, jumping right out of the gate at 10.5 wins, we've talked about the Alabama Crimson Tide. We've talked about their schedule a little bit. We've broken down some teams, and when you look at their schedule, I mean, they're supposed to start off with USC, but doesn't look like that may happen right now. But, of course, they play Georgia. You go through some of their other big games, Mississippi State, Tennessee, LSU, A&M, and Auburn. 10.5 wins, Coach. We talked about this team being, well, the real deal this year. Coming back, they have a great problem with the quarterback situation going on there with Mac Jones and Paul Tyson and Bryce Young. Of course, Talia going into the transfer portal. But I believe the 10.5 wins is, you know what, I believe they'll get 11 wins, if not go undefeated. But, Coach, is 10.5 wins too much on your for your blood here?
No, I'll take the over as well. I'm with you. I think that Alabama will they got a chance to go all the way to run the table. And by the way, I like Jones, the quarterback up there. I think he's going to have a heck of a year. And keep in mind now, they've won national championships with other quarterbacks coming on playing their senior year. I think they did that about 3 or 4 years ago. So with a transfer quarterback playing only the senior year. But I think Jones, I like Jones. I think he's going to be a very productive quarterback for Alabama.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's, like I said, they're in a great position. And we go back to the old days of Greg McElroy and A.J. McCarron. Those are guys that, you know what, I mean, they were good quarterbacks, but the way the system ran through Nick Saban is he's going to run the football. You think of Trent Richardson and Mark Ingram and those guys. This is where I think they're going to get more of a traditional style with that spread option being open, because guys like Mac Jones, I believe Mac Jones is a little bit better quarterback overall. I mean, this guy's a player. I mean, he is fantastic. Let's remember, he's at Alabama, and to get to the University of Alabama, you're not a slouch. So this guy was a highly touted prospect, and going back to even Paul Tyson, of course, Bear Bryant's grandson, as well as Bryce Young, the 5-star athlete that people can't wait to see him get on the field. But, Coach, I want to talk about, the Florida State Seminoles here. One of our, of course, a ton of fans around here. A lot of people are excited with Mike Norvell coming in at the helm here. A little bit different situation, of course, but 7.5 wins, the over-under for them. I actually think that, you know what, this is going to be a tough season for them. I want to say they get 7 or 8 wins. I'm not going to say with a whole lot of confidence they get 8 or 9 wins, but, they start off with West Virginia, and then they have some of their other tougher games. Now they have to travel to Boise, Idaho to take on the Boise State Broncos. NC State, what's that going to look like? Clemson, that's going to be tough. And even taking on teams like Louisville and then Pitt. Yeah, they get Pitt at home, but Pitt's always a tough defensive style team. and then, of course, finishing the season off with the Florida Gators. I think the Florida State Seminoles are going to look better this year, but I think this is more of a feeling out what you have and trying to implement a system for 4 to 5 years down the road of having prolonged success.
Yeah, they're going to be a much better football team. There's no question about that in my mind. I mean, it'll be much improved, and Norvell's going to do a heck of a job. They may surprise some people. That's a very interesting line they put on it. Put on them. I think they're right, just about right where that line is. If they get 7 wins, a couple of them are going to be very, very quality type wins. Then that's going to be a heck of a year for them. So I'm going to say it's right in there, 7 or 8. I agree with you, but I do think they're going to be a much better football team.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's for Florida State, they're going to look better. I think that's the what people have been wanting to see is growth. Now they have the athletes. And Norvell's done a fantastic job with that coaching staff in recruiting in the short period of time that they've had. But I think this is more about cleaning up the problems that they have off the field, cleaning up the penalties on the field, cleaning up that offensive line problem, just getting guys bought into that program. We've already started to see that with Norvell, and that's where the excitement comes. It may not necessarily mean a ton of wins this year, but it's not always about that when you're talking about trying to rebuild that program that drastically needs to be rebuilt right now. So a lot of excitement.
It's a shame he couldn't have had the full spring training, the spring game and all of that, and then the off-season program during the summer and so on. But be that as it may, they're still going to be a much improved football team.
Oh, for sure, without a doubt. That's the thing is you wish that schools like this would have had that opportunity, but you know what? Nobody did for the most part. And, Coach, moving on over to the rivals here, Florida. Now, I know Florida's near and dear to your heart as well, playing there. But Florida, look, this is a team that, Coach, I've said it multiple times here. I think this is their year. I really do. I think this is the year they're going to strike. They're going to take down Georgia. The over-under totals is 10 wins right now. I would be fairly confident. I say that. But I would be fairly confident they get 11, maybe. But who knows? Run the table right here. I've said before a couple weeks ago, I said it the other day on the Sports Drive as well, I believe it will be Alabama and Florida in the SEC title game right there. Now, I don't know if Florida can overtake Alabama, but getting there is half the battle to start off with. But, Coach, looking at this, I mean, they have a fairly favorable schedule. I mean, playing Eastern Washington and Kentucky, you get them at home. You play South Alabama right down the road there. You play them at home in Gainesville. You got to go on the road to Tennessee, but not sure Tennessee's at that point yet. And then you get to host a game against LSU in Gainesville. Also, we know Georgia, like we said. Now, one thing I will say about this Georgia game, I think that continuity will win out. What I mean by that is there's so much indecision with Georgia. And we talk about no spring. No spring actually favors, when it comes to matchups like this, it doesn't favor anybody, but it favors a team like Florida that has their people in place, that has, the quarterback position coming back, the offensive line's coming back. They lost 4 receivers, but those other receivers that they have, they're so deep at that position. Those guys have been playing this entire time. The defense and Todd Grantham, they're all coming back. This is going to be a good-looking squad. I just think there's not a whole lot of questions, not a whole lot of change when you look at the Florida Gators compared to a team like the Georgia Bulldogs that we'll mention in a little bit. But that's why I think this team can overtake it in 10 wins. I think that I'll take the over on that one, Coach.
Ooh, that's going to be topic. They're right there on that threshold. To be honest with you, 10 or 11. I would think they're going to win 10 ball games. If I had to choose a number, I would say 10. It'd be right on the number. But if I'm pressed to go over or under that 10, I would step with you and maybe step over in this situation because of exactly what you've already talked about there, and to think that Georgia has lost quite a few people, including a quarterback that I think is going to make a major difference in their production. So I think they're probably in a position where Florida can overtake them and win that Eastern Division, which would be a big win for them there. LSU, got LSU at home. LSU's lost 16 people. The attrition rate there is very heavy. Plus, they lost a great quarterback. So I just think Florida's got a chance. They got a big chance. It's a heck of a year for them. So I will agree with you on that one.
Yeah, and the reason I say that is when you look at their schedule, the two tough games are basically LSU and Georgia. Outside of that, they play Missouri and Vanderbilt and schools like that, so it's not that tough of a schedule for them. Now, we know that you can always lose one of those games, especially when you talk about the SEC. It's always so tough. You better come to play each and every week, or your butt can you can get upset real quick. But nonetheless, Coach, I love the Florida Gators. Moving on to the team you just talked about, the LSU Tigers. Of course, a fantastic season the way that they ended last year, just storybook season. But they lost 16 people. You have to call it what it is. Now the over/under is 9. So when I look at the schedule, though, the schedule's actually somewhat favorable, but a lot of indecision, a lot of question marks on this team. Now Steve Ensminger talking about Miles Brennan, the now quarterback that is being compared to a Joe Burrow, which let's pump the brakes. Let's not compare anybody to Joe Burrow at this point. Miles Brennan's a good quarterback. Now, Ensminger come on and said, listen, he played 2 years behind Joe Burrow. He knows the system better than anybody else. He's a fantastic player. He can really light it up. He has everything that we are looking for in a quarterback. And he said, look, if you want to jump on the bandwagon, you better get on now, because once this kid gets rolling, it's going to be a lot of fun. So, Coach, when I look at this, I mean, they play Texas, in Baton Rouge. Outside of that, you play Florida on the road. Of course, we talked about that. Interesting enough, though, they play the Alabama Crimson Tide, of course, but they play them in Baton Rouge this year, and they play the Auburn Tigers as well as Texas A&M. 9 wins to me, there's so much. I would be scared to take 9 wins. I hate to say that. I know they have a lot coming back, but just because of teams like Auburn that seem to always be pestering, they have to go on the road to Jordan-Hare. Texas A&M is really the team that worries me. I think Texas A&M is going to have a fantastic year, but Florida, we know how good Florida is going to be. And this is interesting enough. A team like Mississippi State could come in to Baton Rouge just with that Mike Leach offense and upset them. So 9 wins, I would almost say push on that. Maybe 9 wins. I possibly think it could be 8 wins for them this year.
I think you're pretty much right on the money. You have to consider that winning breeds winning. Momentum certainly follows a year like last year. Most of those kids that are going to be playing were at least a part of that football team, or were very close to that football team in many ways, even if they were high school kids. So I do think that is an intangible that you can't really put a number on. You can put a number on the definitive factors in that they lost 16 people. Now that's hard to overcome. I would agree with them on the quarterback. I like the quarterback, and I think, listen, I've been around quarterbacks all my life and coached them and so on. He's been there as a backup quarterback for 2 years, which means that he's taken almost as many snaps as the starting quarterback. He knows the system. He knows what they want. He watched an unbelievable quarterback display last year, quarterback production. So I like him. I think they're going to be okay at the quarterback position. It's just when you lose 16, you're definitely going to lose some continuity off the field. Now, 9, boy, that's right on the threshold. But they've got they got to go to Florida. I think that's going to be very, very difficult for them. Jordan-Hare, as you mentioned, will be difficult. Alabama's going to be difficult regardless of where they're playing. They play with Baton Rouge or in a parking lot. It doesn't matter. So I think it's, with the schedule, the difficulty in the schedule they have, and the loss of 16 people, I think if they get 9 wins, it's going to be a heck of a year for them. Be a heck of a season.
Yeah.
So I really think they're right around that mark.
And I think one thing to make note is losing 16 guys that contributed to your program and still having the over-under of 9 wins, highly respectable is what I want to say on that. But, Coach, talking about couple more teams here real quick. The Georgia Bulldogs, we talked about them with Florida, talking about them. Look, they got a brand new offensive line, new offensive coordinator. Sam Pittman's gone, the offensive line coach that continued to put guys in the NFL each and every year. Kirby Smart's done a fantastic job recruiting, but on the other side of things, they've got Jamie Newman at the quarterback position. They lost some running backs. This is a team that we talk about lost a lot of the offense. And Jake Fromm, post-Jake Fromm era, I think it's important that people aren't talking about this enough, but how is this team going to look? This is something we talked about as well with the spring not happening here. Look, you can't implement your new offense the way you want to. You can't get out on the field, get your hands dirty, and go about your business. But you know what, Coach, when you look at it, 10 wins right now for Georgia, I think is actually pretty good, just because when you look at it now, I think that's about where they belong, because I can see this team. Of course, they play Alabama on the road early on in the season. They get Auburn at home, which they play fairly well at home, of course. But Florida, that's the team. That's the decision maker here. Outside of those games there, you've got, South Carolina, Kentucky, Tennessee, and Georgia Tech. Not a whole lot of world beaters there. A team that can upset you, of course. And there's so much indecision. But 10 wins for the the Georgia Bulldogs right here, Coach. I would say that's probably around their threshold.
Yeah, that's a heck of a season if they get 10 wins. I really think that there's a good chance that they could lose to Florida and Alabama if you look at their schedule. And then if you're without your quarterback and your offensive line, there's a chance that you can have an upset in there somewhere. And they're going to be playing some teams that are on the rise, and we'll play them tough, and it's going to be difficult for them. But I think 10 wins. If I had to pick over or under, if I was forced to pick an over or under, I'd pick under on Georgia here. But anyway, they're hitting these things pretty much right on the head.
Yeah. If I was a betting man, and I'm not, I wouldn't touch this one, that or LSU. But last team, Coach, before we go to break here, Clemson Tigers, 11.5 wins, basically saying that Clemson is going to go undefeated. And looking at their schedule, I can't argue with that. This is a team we expect to be in the playoff and competing for another national championship. The only game that I wonder, this is the toughest game on their schedule here, is, look, they have to play in Notre Dame. So that's going to be interesting enough. Outside of that, you're looking at Louisville, maybe Florida State coming back. That's about it. Coach, 11.5, do you see the Clemson Tigers going undefeated?
I do. I see them going undefeated. I really do. I think they're going to run the table. And if you had to pick project a national champion right now, I would think you'd have to go with Clemson.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's Clemson. You got Clemson, Ohio State, Alabama. Those three teams are the first that comes to mind. But Clemson, just what they're doing. Trevor Lawrence, it's his year to take over now. He's been the man, but now he's 3 years in, and this is, with all the draft hype and everything going on, this is the year we expect. Look, Travis Etienne's come back. This team is revamped and ready to go. As always, what Dabo's done. But listen, we got to go to a break, Coach. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit. Look, listen, if football, going about conference schedules here, what that could mean for a team that is near and dear to some people around here, and maybe a guy that's come on our show a few times. We'll talk to Coach about that and get his insight as well on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
I'm attorney Stephen Luongo with Levin, Papantonio, Thomas, Mitchell, Rafferty, and Proctor in Pensacola, Florida. Distracted driving is a dangerous epidemic on America's roadways. In 2016 alone, over 3,000 people were killed in motor vehicle crashes involving distracted drivers. This according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. For more information, please visit us today online at levinlaw.com. Please be safe on the roadways. Stop the text, stop the wrecks.
When you're looking for a great deal on a reliable new or certified pre-owned vehicle, you can't beat Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola. Bob Tyler Toyota has the best selection in town at incredible low prices. You can check out their amazing inventory from Camrys to Tundra trucks to 4Runners. It's all at Bob Tyler Toyota, and you can find it online at bobtylertoyota.com. Also score a touchdown this football season with the car of your dreams. Again, it's only at Bob Tyler Toyota in Car City, Pensacola.
There's only one place in town for the lowest prices and greatest selection of firearms. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range. Visit our fully stocked Gun Pro Shop for new and used firearms, accessories, and ammunition. Check out the Indoor Shooting Range. We offer rentals on guns, including fully automatic machine guns and silencers. Ladies, this is the safe place to learn how to use a gun. Plus, Tuesday is Ladies' Day. Women shoot for half price all day. The best place to buy firearms in Pensacola. Pensacola Indoor Shooting Range, Highway 29 in Car City.
What's up, Chad here from the Sports Drive. Well, no sports to talk about. March Madness canceled, every major sport, so maybe you get to spend some more time around your family. Oh, what? Not supposed to touch anybody? Well, just go home and watch Price is Right. But if you are older, you have a better chance of getting it. Right, Mike Gundy? Oh, 40? You should be all right. And he won't be broadcasting sports, but one guy that feels the same way we all do with no sports, probably Joe Buck.
Oh, gosh. Oh, man. Oh, my goodness.
Sports Drive 5 to 7 with no sports.
The teams, the games, the fans, the local talk. This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM.
Welcome back to Talk Football with Coach K. JP here with you alongside former NFL head coach Kay Stevenson. On this Friday afternoon, couple minutes left here. Look, we appreciate Coach Shinnick of our national championship UWF Argos coming on the show with us as well. Next week, Paul Feinbaum will join us, as well as on Tuesday, Tony Barnhart will join us. Going to be an exciting show, as well as some other guests. Coach, we got about a minute or two left here. One question, of course, talking about teams and going to possible conference schedules is an independent team. Now, this team, Notre Dame, my question to you, Coach, is if they go to conference schedules, what is Notre Dame, a team like that, going to do in this time?
Well, it's interesting. They're not in a conference, so if conferences go to interconference play, that's going to hurt them some. But they have 6 games scheduled in the Atlantic Coast Conference now, so they would probably keep those. Yeah, I'm sure they keep those games. So the ACC is going to play, I know. And in addition to that, I don't think they'd have any trouble getting 5 or 6 more games, even if the California schools don't play like Southern Cal and Stanford, who they play. But I understand Navy wants to keep its game open with them. And any team that has an open date or an open date appears, which can happen very easily now, what an attractive pickup for a game would be, Notre Dame would be. I mean, it would be very, very attractive for them. So I don't think they're going to have any problem getting to their 11 or 12 games.
Yeah, I would say not. The coach of Notre Dame, what a prestigious university when you talk about it. And you look at, now that game may not be in Ireland, of course, but a lot of ACC games there, and this is a perfect opportunity. Listen, this is going to change as we go along, depending on if, like, the state of California or Oregon says that they can't play football in the Pac-12. So this is going to be ever-evolving. But right now, for a team like Notre Dame, well, just hold tight. Everything's going to be okay. But listen, Coach, nonetheless, that sound means it's time for us to go. We have a lot we didn't get to, but we appreciate Coach Shinnick joining us. But, Coach, it's been a pleasure, my friend.
You bet, and we look forward to next week, certainly.
Absolutely. Coach, appreciate it. And listen, we appreciate our fans out there. We'll be back Monday talking some football with you right here on Talk Football with Coach K on ESPN Pensacola.
This is ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM and 99.1 FM, the only local station that talks sports 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. From Gullick and Wingo to the Sports Drive with Chad Brillante. Plus talk football with Coach K at noon, sports call every Saturday. If you'd like to partner with us as an advertiser or a promotional partner, just give us a call at 262-6000.
You're listening to ESPN Pensacola 1330 AM, 99.1 FM. All sports, all the time. WEBY, Milton, Pensacola.
It's First Take Your Take on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, Sirius XM Channel 80, and ESPN News. I'm Jason Fitz. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. Let's start you off with the headlines that you need to know. All this Major League Baseball talk we've been having, well, MLB has a draft plan. Major League Baseball plans to hold their 2020 MLB draft remotely, according to a memo obtained by ESPN's Jeff Passan today. As of now, teams are not allowed to have draft rooms and will do all drafting via video conference. That could change, the memo says, as the draft date approaches. So this will look a lot like to the NFL and how they manage it. Day one of the draft right now is scheduled to be June 10th at 7 p.m. Eastern and will include the first 4 rounds. So we'll keep you updated on that as we get more information. Next up in your headlines, James Harrison clarifying some comments that blew up yesterday as he was on a podcast yesterday with Barstool. He was on Barstool talking about the Gius thing. He said that Mike Tomlin never did, handed me an envelope after a hit. And he said, I'm not going to say what, but he handed me an envelope after that. That has created incredible Bountygate comparisons, and that comment has blown up. He went to social media, quote, wow, y'all really comparing what I said to Bountygate. Harrison wrote, Mike T has never paid me for hurting someone or trying to hurt someone or put a bounty on anybody. If you know the full story of what happened back then, you'd know that BS fine for illegal play wasn't even penalized during the game. So Harrison not backing away from the comments that he received an envelope, but making it clear that is much different than Bountygate. By the way, it should be noted the Steelers have already said that there's no truth to this. And lastly, arrest warrants have been issued in South Florida for Giants cornerback DeAndre Baker and Seahawks corner Quentin Dunbar in connection to an armed robbery investigation. So the alleged incident took place late Wednesday night at a party that began Wednesday evening. According to the arrest warrant, Baker and Dunbar accused of stealing money and watches with force while armed with semi-automatic firearms. It states that Baker intentionally threatened victims with a firearm also. The warrant includes conflicting accounts from witnesses as to whether Dunbar was armed, some saying they didn't see a gun in his possession. We'll see what it means moving forward. The NFL and both teams have given us the blanket statement of they're aware of the matter with no further comment. Those are the headlines you need to know. First, take your take on ESPN Radio, ESPN News. I'm Jason Fitz, and this is what we're asking you. We've heard some conversation that we're asking you to chime in on. Rather than paraphrase everything, I want you to hear the comments, at least in part, that you're reacting to and that First Take's reacting to. So first, here's Tampa Bay Rays ace. It's hard for me to say also. Blake Snell commenting about the fact that he's not willing to play for less money.
No, I'm not splitting no revenue. I want all mine. Bro, y'all gotta understand too, because y'all gonna be like, bro, Blake, play for the love of the game, man. What's wrong with you, bro? Money should not be a thing. Bro, I'm risking my life. What do you mean it should not be a thing? It 100% should be a thing. If I'm gonna play, I should be getting the money I signed to be getting paid. I should not be getting half of what I'm getting paid because the season's cut in half, on top of a 33% cut of the half that's already there. So I'm really getting like 25%. On top of that, it's getting taxed. So imagine how much I'm actually making to play. You know what I'm saying? Like, I ain't making shit. And on top of that, so all that money's gone. And now I play risking my life. And if I get the Rona, on top of that, if I get the Rona, guess what happens with that? Oh yeah, that's in my body forever. That damage is not going to be like, the damage that was done to my body, that's going to be there forever.
So that's Blake Snell's comments on Twitch that have caused an uproar. Now, what do you do when one of your biggest stars in your sport chimes in with some level of support? That's what happened when Bryce Harper said this.
Yo, I love Snell. That's my guy, bro.
He said if someone gets it, they got to live with that for the rest of their lives.
He ain't lying. He's right.
He's like, he's like, give me my money or I'm not playing.
Hey, bro, he's speaking the truth, bro. I ain't mad at him. Somebody's got to say it. At least he manned up and said it. Good for him. I love Snow, man. He guy's a beast, too. Best lefties in the game, bro.
So let's get to some Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. I want to start by saying this again. And in case you haven't heard any of my stance on this, I want to make it clear. I believe that players are human beings. And as human beings, they have the right to decide what they are or are not comfortable with at any time, right? I have no problem with a player coming out and saying, you know what, in this pandemic era, I'm not comfortable playing. That's fine. However, we can also acknowledge the other side of it, which is when you make it about money, when you're essentially saying, I won't play unless I get paid my full salary, now you have an optics issue in a country that's facing the largest unemployment rate that we've seen since the Great Depression. So that's why we've asked you, how should leagues handle paying their players during a pandemic? 888 say ESPN 888-729-3776. Before we get to any of First Take's reaction, let's get Scott in L.A. Scott, what's your take on this?
Hey, thanks for letting me come in, and I apologize for the rant ahead of time. I would never advocate for something that was unsafe for players to do. So first and foremost, let's get that out of the way. However, if it's determined that they're going to move ahead and play an abbreviated season, I am sick and tired of hearing millionaire ball players talk about losing their money. I'm a consumer of 45 years of this sport, and I'm sick of people telling me I can't look in a player's pocket, but I can look in an owner's pocket. In MLB, there's reserve labor. If Blake Snell doesn't want to play, they've got the AAA, AA, all the way down to rookie ball to replace him. Nobody's forcing him to do it. But it's crazy in the time of an epidemic to expect to get fully paid for a full season when you're not playing a full season. It's just simple math. It has nothing to do with money. It's about labor. Where was the players' union when the Astros got caught cheating? They were silent. Where were they when there was the steroids? They were silent. They are now advocating a position of getting full money for half of a year. That is just absolutely crazy when 25 to 30% of the population is unemployed. It comes across as greedy on the players' part, and I will boycott if this happens to take place. It's just out of whack, and it's time that the owners took a stand and wrestled back ownership of their sport, and this revenue sharing gets tilted back towards the owners. They should draw the line and use the reserve labor that they have to replace Mr. Snell and Mr. Harper if they don't want to play for an abbreviated salary. Thanks for letting me on.
Hey, I love the passion. And look, I think it's important there to hear from, as you said, a consumer of the sport for 45 years, because realistically, you're the customer in this that matters the most, right? So one thing that I think you said there that's really smart is let's acknowledge that the owners have an opportunity. And I know that sounds very weird, but if the owners want at this point to sort of skew the game however they want it through this process, you're absolutely right. This is the one time where you can go to fans of your sport and essentially say, you know what? I'm sorry, but we're only willing to do this, and these players aren't willing to play for less. And in a world where we do have, in a country where we have unemployment rates like we do, and in a country where families all over are worried about how they're going to put food on their table, you'll actually win a lot of favor from the fans. I think it's rare in this opportunity for a fan to actually turn around and understand why you would side against a superstar player. But if this actually becomes about money, I think you could see that here, because it's easy to vilify whoever is standing on the side of we won't do this. That's absolutely, health and safety aside, if it becomes about money, whichever side is making the money the big deal in the most relatable way has the opportunity to win. And for owners, as much as we can talk about the fact that they're billionaires, when you see a bunch of millionaire athletes that aren't willing to play, I understand the sentiment there. So you're right. Dipping into the talent pool and saying, sorry, guys, but these players just aren't willing to play is actually an opportunity where I think fans would understand that more than we think. Straight Talk, that's Straight Talk Wireless, everything for less, only at Walmart. That's a little of ours. You guys are chiming in on it. We're going to let it happen. But first, I want you to hear a little of what Stephen A. and Max had to say about Snell and Harper's conversations today on First Take.
I'm not Dr. Fauci, and I'm not trying to be, and I'm not going to get into the minutia of the things that you say as it pertains to the threats that entail the coronavirus. We all know we're living it right now. Gloves, masks, all of that stuff is necessary right now. Safety first, we get all of that. I don't need to regurgitate those comments. What I will say, however, is this. You are a Major League Baseball player. You are a participant in America's national pastime, which is clearly lagging behind, the NFL and the NBA in this day and age. They have failed to ingratiate themselves with the younger audience. Their audience gets older and older. Everybody's looked at the sport. You know, you've got the reviving baseball in the inner city and things of that nature, their RBI program and stuff like that, where they try to pay attention and really ingratiate themselves with minorities throughout this country, even though they usually go elsewhere outside this country to get minorities. But the point is, they have been lagging behind those other two sports, basketball and football, because they failed to ingratiate themselves with the younger generation. And so because of that, you're looking at the dissipating power that they've had. It's dissipated to some degree. The Players Association, as powerful and as potent as it is not what it used to be. And we all know that. The players themselves have lamented it. And as a result of that, you're going to find yourself in situations where if you alienate an audience in this day and age, you're hurting yourself. Snell is out there saying, man, I got to get mine. He makes perfect sense. Excuse me, I tell everybody all the time, I don't give a damn how much money you make. Give away 50% to Uncle Sam because they coming for that. So whatever they said you make, chop that in half. And then when you consider the cuts that they already negotiated, I have no problem with the Players Association's position that, wait a minute, we already discussed this. We had already dealt with this. What's the problem now? I have no problem with that.
Yeah.
What I have a problem with is how he came across. 33 million plus people have filed for unemployment. Oh, I got to get mine when you were scheduled to make $7 million. It's just a dumb thing to say.
It's a bad look.
You signed the contract. You signed for 13 years, over $300 million. I don't blame him one bit. It's just not smart to say that. That's all I'm saying.
You're right. You're right. It's a bad look. But even baseball, as I was saying, that's been better in recent decades in terms of paying players than the other sports and contracts, etc. Even they want to save money, right? Like they don't want to pay labor, so they have a system where the first several years of your career you don't really make money. Now, you make money compared to the working man, obviously, because you're among the best in the world at what you do in a very rare skill. But Snell made like $500,000 for winning the Cy Young Award. Not as a bonus, that was his entire salary. Eventually, he signs a $50 million extension. Stephen A., that's still lower than he would get on the open market, but he's not a free agent yet, right? So he signs a $50 million extension, and normally these teams escalate the salaries. So year one, it's $7 million. Year two, it's 11, then 13, then 16.
Matt?
The teams do that to help themselves financially. So if Snell's going to sit there and say, wait a minute, I'm in this $7 million year where that's going to get cut in half now, I'm good. I'll wait until I get the payout in years 3, 4, and 5
Max,
or whatever it is.
Your argument is profound if somebody was debating whether he was right or wrong. That's not what we're debating here. What we're talking about is how smart was it to say that at a time like this? You remember, the owners want them to come back to the negotiating table. Remember, there's a CBA in 2020 to deal with. I mean, what are you doing? You shut the hell up and let your Players Association speak. You shut the hell up. You signed a $50 million contract.
Okay.
You can't tell people at a time when 33 million people plus are on unemployment at this time. You can't sit up there, oh, I got to get mine. I can't accept half of $7 million. Shut up. That's just dumb. Period.
ESPN Radio presented by Progressive Insurance. We're taking your take on this. How should leagues handle it? I'm really trying to find the other side. You know, part of the thing, one of the things I like to do with you guys is present both sides of it just to stir. You know, I like to stir things up and sort of disrupt all of it. I'm trying to find the other side of this. 888-SAY-ESPN, 888-729-3776. That's where we're taking your take on how leagues should handle paying their players during a pandemic. Doe in California, what do you got? What's your take on this one?
So this is what I got, man. These guys, they're already overpaid as it is. Bryce Harper